Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio podcast and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Dr. Joy Kong. Dr. Kong and I are going to be talking on the topic how stem cell therapy can reverse aging. Hey, we all want to look better. So, this is a conversation for us ladies to understand how we can reverse aging and get that youthful glow. So, welcome, Dr. Kong.
Thank you so much, Myrna. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, the time to reverse aging is here.
Right, exactly. That's amazing. And I'm looking at Dr. Kong right now, and she is a perfect model for our conversation because she has a youthful glow.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm pretty public about
Using
my
our
age.
products.
Yeah, I'm very public about my age because I'm making a point that we literally can stall the pace of aging now. We
Right.
couldn't before for thousands of years. We never could do it. And all these emperors, empresses, whatever, kings and queens have sent out people to find out the secrets and to figure out how to stop the aging process. Nobody was able to do that. But we actually can do that now. Just you
Beautiful.
and I, common people. You don't have to be a king or queen.
Queen. I love it. I love it. All right. So we're getting started already. But let me give you guys a brief introduction. Dr. Joy Kung is a triple board certified anti-aging physician and stem cell specialist, renowned for her expertise in stem cell therapy and commitment to educating both physicians and the public. As a dedicated educator and pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, Dr. Kang has founded, the American Academy of Integrated Cell Therapy and trained numerous physicians from around the world. With numerous accolades, including Stem Cell Doctor of the Year and Stem Cell Doctor of the Decade, Dr. Kang continues to be a respected figure in the medical community, dedicated to advancing the field of regenerative medicine and improving patient outcomes through her emphasis on scientific data, passion, authenticity, and integrity. Her inspiring memoir, Tiger of Beijing, recounts her remarkable journey as an immigrant from China at the age of 20, starting with her visa rejection in 1991. And that book was named 2020 Book of the Year by TP. Wow, Dr. Kang, you come to us highly, with a whole bunch of knowledge. And I am so glad or so honored to have you on the show so that you can share this valuable information. But let's start off with the foundation. What exactly is stem cell therapy? How does it work?
Yeah, so that's definitely my passion. Of course, we were taught about stem cells just a little bit in medical school, but nothing that would allow the doctor to say, "Well, I know how to utilize this." We had no idea. All we knew is that we did come from stem cells. Every one of us came from the first stem cell, which is the fertilized egg, and from there, the cells keep transforming and keep making more copies, which are all stem cells until it forms the end organ. And that's when it was a final stage of cell. So we know the whole process in medical school, but we didn't know that it was actually utilized to treat patients yet. We knew the tremendous promise, but nobody taught us that any kind of studies or actually therapies has been going on. So that's in a sense the failing of the medical system. Or well, when I was in medical school, I went into UCLA in 1999, so that was still early, but still there were stem cells therapy going on, but no one taught us. So when I came upon it about 8 years ago, hearing from a doctor who actually was injecting umbilical cord derived stem cells into the body of an autistic kid and telling me all these drastic transformations from this kid,
Wow.
I was shocked. I said, "What, you're saying that people are actually using it already? I thought it's still under research." That's how much of a blinder I was basically walking around with. And that's how most doctors are. 90% of doctors don't know enough about stem cells. They don't know what's going on. So that's what I'm really trying to help not only the public, but also doctors really to catch up on this field. So come back to your question of what a stem cells is, what a stem cell is that is the a cell that carries tremendous potential. It doesn't have a whole lot of specific function. So it's not like a worker cell. Right? Your heart, your muscles, your skin, they're all worker cells. The cells of that organ, it's like the worker bee, right? It's the worker cell that's actually doing the job. But every step before that are there are all these cells that is full of potentials. For example, your your muscle cell was actually before it became a muscle cell, it was a muscle specific stem cell. And then before that, it could be, something that has a little bit more potential. It may be able to become a muscle cell or a bone cell or a cartilage cell. And then a step before that, it may be something that's even having more potential, can become cells of other tissues, of a few other organs. But there's it's not a clear demarcation as far as the differences between these cells. Because when we were an embryonic stem cell, and when the first cell started to divide and form a ball, they have tremendous potential. They can form an entire organism, but then they keep dividing, keep forming, and that in that process, they will form cells with more tailored orientation. Let's say something is going more toward musculoskeletal sector, something is going more toward nervous system sector. So each step of the way, the cell will lose certain potential to become everything, but then will gain some possibility of going into a particular pathway by turning on certain genes and turning off certain genes. So everywhere along the way, they're all stem cells. So when people say, oh, I want to get stem cell therapy, as if there's one thing called stem cells, but there are thousands of different kinds of stem cells in your body. But until you get to the end organ cells, everything before that is a stem cell. So we can tap into any step along the way from the very beginning to triggering your organ stem cells to come alive and replenish the tissue. So all those are stem cell therapy. What's remarkable about stem cell therapy is that it is waking up your body's own intelligence to repair itself. It's like giving your body a clear blueprint. The stem cells is full of these capabilities to send signals to the body. As we age, a lot of those signals are kind of fragmented and pixelated, and the information is just not clear anymore. And when we give stem cells, sometimes can be from a person's own, but then your own stem cells will be your age and has degraded along with your other systems. So there's no way around it. But when you give younger stem cells, then you're giving a very young, fresh signals. So it's the signals that we're after. It's like hearing, if we're going into the religious, way of looking at, actually hearing God's whisper.
Okay,
Right? Originally, you were designed a certain way, right? We don't know who designed it.
right,
We don't have answers to that. But something designed this intricate system,
right.
and that system has lost its clear voice over time as we age. And then when you give stem cells, all of a sudden the body can hear the message. And that's why it's revolutionary.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's amazing. But let's just circle back a bit on that because my my knowledge of stem cells, I mean, I've heard, Tony Robbins talk about he had to go to another country to get stem cells injected into his shoulder. I've heard, my husband had back surgery and they told him that he shouldn't have back surgery, that he can get stem cell therapy for his back. So what you're saying, I understand because now you're saying that the stem cell is is allowing the body to repair because it has the God whisper, if you want to call it any other. But I also understood that it was not allowed in the United States because they were saying that stem cells only came from aborted embryos.
Oh my
So
goodness.
bridge the gap about
I need
where
to
we got
unpack that one. There's so many myths tied into one in that statement. First of all, there's so many sources of stem cells, right? So I don't know a single practitioner or scientist that's actually dissecting and obtaining cells from an aborted fetus. So I don't know any. There are people out there, and in Ukraine, they are using aborted fetuses to do treatments, but not anybody that I have ever come in contact with in the US or abroad. So there's a small sector of stem cell therapy. They may have used aborted fetuses. It's not legal in the US.
right.
And most stem cell therapy that's done all around the world are not using that. So you can use your body's own, right? You have still have stem cells in your bone marrow, in your in your fat, and in any tissue, really, you have stem cells. So there are a lot of ways people can get stem cells. You can get it from menstrual blood, from dental pulp, and there are all kinds of sources. Or you can get it from a very young source that's either from your own when you were born or from somebody else. When a newborn is came into the world, of course, we're going to cut the cord. And what do you do with the placenta? Well, we're not dragging the placenta around with a person, right? We toss it in the past.
Well,
But
I
now
know
we
because
know, so
a lot
we
of
know
women are freezing their stems, I mean their placenta.
exactly
My
because now
daughter,
we know these
right,
tissues are
right,
packed with
okay,
these helpful cells. But that's
okay,
only
right.
happened in the
But
last 10 years or so. It's a
other
new
than that,
thing.
okay, other than that, where do they get the stem cells from? If you want, you just said that I have stem cells, but maybe if I want to be younger, I don't want to use my stem cells because I'm older. So where do I get this young stem cell from?
Well, you actually can get it right here in the US because there are a lot of tissue banks, companies that actually process these birth tissue, right? Placenta and umbilical cord, so they can get the cord blood or they can dissect up the cord tissue. There's amniotic membrane, there's amniotic fluid. So all that, there are sources, really beneficial sources, not necessarily stem cells in the amniotic fluid, but a lot of growth factors. But in the cord blood, cord tissue, amniotic membrane is full of stem cells. And the labs are producing it and and they are legally selling it to physicians in this country. There are
Okay.
lots of stem cell clinics out there. Actually, just to give you a number, when I read it, it was astounding because stem cell therapy has not been supported by the the power to be, right? So it's not promoted, it's actually suppressed. I just give you an example of how suppressed it is. You cannot run an ad talking about stem cells on Google or Facebook or Instagram. They're going to turn you down. They're going to say, well, this is unproven therapy. This is in a category of miracle cures. Never mind, there are thousands and thousands of incredibly active research from all around the world from the most prestigious institutions. These are the scientific cutting edge in science, and people are studying it, and people are discovering its benefit in all kinds of conditions. And that's what my purpose is to show people these research, these studies, and show the doctors and the public. So the truth is, it has not been supported yet. In the last 5 years, the number of stem cell clinics have quadrupled in the United States. No one knows about it because a lot of doctors don't even want to talk about it because they're afraid to be targeted. So they don't even mention it on their website. They only mention it to the patient in the clinic. This is just how scared people are to pursue these very natural and very safe therapies. So that has been the atmosphere ever since I came into the field 8 years ago.
Okay.
So people are scared, doctors are scared to provide it because there's no quote unquote FDA approval for a particular, for the
That
type
was
of
my next
products. There is FDA approval, however, for
question.
umbilical cord blood stem cells. But that approval, because all FDA approvals are condition oriented. So they approved it for hemoreconstitution, which means you destroy your own immune system, your white blood cells, red blood cells, and all the mechanisms are producing all these cells in the blood. And then you can introduce either bone marrow from somebody else or the umbilical cord blood of somebody else to reconstitute your whole immune system. And that has, tremendous power in actually getting people well, completely shift their system. Yeah.
I've heard a lot of testimony about what stem cell can do. So, I mean, I think that everybody that's listening have heard of what stem cell can do. I've never heard it, with the target of what we're talking about today about reversing aging. And I'm not quite sure you're going to tell me how we're doing that if we're injecting it in the skin like Botox or what, but we're going to get to that. But I've always heard that it's a regenerative thing. So, you got a problem with your shoulder, you got a problem with your back, you got a problem with, I don't know, you mentioned something about autism. I saw on your bio something about that. I thought that autism was incurable. I didn't know that stem cell can actually help with that. So maybe before we get to the aging,
Yeah. So I
just
have actually
explain
a
what
lot
that
of
is.
lectures covering
Okay.
different aspects you just mentioned,
Right.
including a lecture on autism specifically, going over why stem cells can help with autism and even case studies from my patients in my clinic. But there's also, and I cover, of course, a lot of studies, clinical studies from all around the world. I have a lecture about just the diverse conditions that stem cell therapy has been shown to be helpful for. So all I offered were clinical studies. So what I want to show is what people have found out. It's
Okay.
not nothing about my opinion because my opinion is only formed after I've seen the studies, right? After understanding how the cells work.
Right.
And so the my focus is definitely one to relieve suffering because we don't need to suffer from so many of these chronic illnesses. If we can give the body the signal I was talking about and
Mhm.
restore the healing mechanism, all of a sudden, a lot of the conditions can go away. So traditional Western medicine has been kind of barking up the wrong tree because it's not looking at the signal. It's not looking at what your body can do to actually repair itself. It's trying to antagonize the body, thinking of the body as, as a war that you need to fight. Like this is a battleground. But no, what if you just, whisper to the body and just let the body do its own thing? So that's a whole new twist on how we can do medicine these days. One, reduce suffering. And just to give you an idea of how aging is tightly connected with chronic illness, we know if you can slow down the aging process by 7 years, the amount of chronic illness in the world will be halved. So you will only have half of the chronic illness cases at all, which means aging is first of all, is the biggest predictor of cancer, right? Why? Because you have aging of your immune system, you have toxic buildup, you have aging of your cells, everything is aging. That's why the cancer is coming up and your body cannot get rid of it. And it's connected with all chronic illnesses pretty much. So
Yeah.
if we can slow down that process, then we can really reduce the amount of suffering. Imagine if we can cut down the chronic illness rate by half, how much suffering we're reducing. But
Okay.
in that process, uh, just to follow up on that, I do believe regular IV stem cells can reverse aging by 15, 20 years. I firmly believe that. And I've been doing that on myself. I do stem cell therapy every 3 months for the last 8 years because of the research I've seen in animals, and we can talk about those.
Yeah.
So,
So you're looking what, 20 years younger or something?
yeah, yeah. So
29
I tell people
years?
I plan to look the
Oh,
same way when I'm
okay.
75 years old. So I'm 53,
Wow.
and I can show you pictures of how I look younger than when I was 43 for sure. 43,
Wow.
I definitely reversed my own age, and that wasn't my intention. I just wanted to be well, be energetic, and not decline. But I didn't anticipate that regular treatment could actually be reversing my age. And that is really exciting. And that has been demonstrated in animal studies, not only they can consistently extend animals' lifespan by about 30% with regular IV stem cells, but they also are reversing all the markers of aging, including how much growth factors your cells can produce, how much
Wow.
toxic waste buildup there is, and what neurotransmitters that like the muscles and the brain can secrete. And so all these different markers of senescence of the cells were reverted to the younger state. So you really are biologically kind of revamping the system. You keep dialing back the clock. So the clock is, of course, going forward, but you can do something to bring it back. So you keep bringing it back, right? So that's when you can stay at a youthful state. And I do believe we can extend the time that we're youthful by 15, 20 years. And that
Okay.
is a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing for humanity because I always talk about that old doctor that's 85 years old that everybody loves in the community, that's, shuffling around in the clinic, still treating patients and loved by everybody, by his family. But we all know that's not going to last. He may leave the earth, not too long, and it's not going to last forever. But I think now we're at the stage we can keep all that wisdom and love going for another 15, 20 years. Imagine that doctor still shuffling around, hopefully with strides, not just shuffling, but walking around like a whatever, 50, 60-year-old
Right.
for, until he was, 110, until he's
Right.
110. We
All
can
right. Well, we
we
want to
can
know
get
how it
there.
works. We, if I forget the preamble now, we want to know how does, let's talk about our topic. How does the stem cell therapy, you've given me an understanding because I know you have a cream and we're going to talk about later on, but I'm thinking it's something that you stick in your face or your cream, but you're actually talking about regeneration from the inside out. And one of the things that I know about cancer is because of when the DNA, recycles itself, it has problems. So now I can understand how, the stem cell works with cancer because it's keeping those codes. So when the cells regenerate, it's not regenerating badly. So give us the understanding of how stem cell is reducing our biological age. I guess that's
That
that's where
comes
we're ready.
to how the cells work. So let me
Okay.
just give you a breakdown of how stem cells work. And when I talk about how stem cells work, of course, they can replenish tissue, they can make new cells, but I'm targeting specifically on mesenchymal stem cells, which has been the rage, has been the focus of research for the last, 15 years. And it's considered kind of the like the conductor in the symphony of regeneration throughout your body because we all have these mesenchymal stem cells. Although the number dwindles as we age, literally like dropping off a cliff as far as how many cells are around. Anywhere you have blood vessels, you will have these cells just holding on to your blood vessel, and they're sensing what's going on in your blood, sensing on what's going on in the neighborhood, at where it's at, and to talking with local cells, including local stem cells that's specific to the tissue that can only divide and become, replenish local tissue. So it can communicate with local stem cells, but it can communicate with your immune system and with your entire body. These cells, we were born full of them. Every 1 in 10,000 cells was this stem cell. This is called mesenchymal stem cell. This is a particular type of stem cell. And when we reach our teenage years, it's already only 1 in 100,000. So you can imagine, if you are a conductor, right, in the symphony, you used to only have to conduct, 10,000 instruments. Now you got 100,000, right? You're having, this is a lot to handle. But when you reach your 40s, it becomes
Uh-huh.
1 in 400,000. And when you reach
Wow.
your 80s, it becomes 1 in 2 million. So literally your body it cannot handle the volume of the regeneration anymore. And not only is declined in number, it has declined in quality. So these cells are just not as vibrant, not as active. It can't give as much signal anymore, and it can't detect cancer as well either. Because mesenchymal stem cells, one thing it can do is it can fight off cancer. It can actually secrete these anti-cancer peptides or anti-cancer signals to trigger the cancer cells to go on programmed cell death. So it has direct anti-cancer properties. Yet, as you get older, these cells are losing its ability to recognize cancer and sending the proper signals. So not only it cannot tell your body to regenerate as well, it also cannot fight off cancer for you very well. Um, so the how do they work? So they're all around your body. One thing is that they're really good at calming inflammation. And we know inflammation is tightly connected with aging. And if you cannot calm the inflammation, your body cannot go to the next stage. You know, inflammation is important, but you need to go to the next stage, which is regeneration. So if you're stuck in inflammation, then you're not regenerating. Then you're in pain, you're swollen, you have brain fog, you're stuck. So, but it can calm inflammation so that the regeneration can happen. So it can actually shift your immune system. That's an immune modulating part of mesenchymal stem cell. I'll just call it MSC for short, MSCs. So these MSCs can shift your immune system from a very inflammatory state to an anti-inflammatory state. And in that process, of course, it can calm a lot of the autoimmune conditions. It can also, help a lot of tissue recovery. And then it has the ability to tell your local stem cells to start regenerating, right? And it can tell your local environment to start to break down bad tissue and to take them away, basically activating your immune system for this regenerative activity, which is to take away things that don't work, that's causing problems, and then allow local stem cells to start replenishing. It also has the ability to, I mentioned, fight off cancer. It has antimicrobial properties. It can directly secrete antimicrobial peptides to kill off, all the microbes, including, bacteria and parasites, etc. And it has the ability to promote new blood vessel formation. So making new tissue is no good if there's no blood supplying the tissue, right? So it can also help regenerate blood vessels. And it can also, it has the ability to give you fresh new mitochondria if you are using young stem cells, right? If you're using your own, then you're on your own. Good luck. That's still your own mitochondria. Whatever that's
Why
going on with your
would someone
mitochondria is
use their
what you're
own?
getting back.
Why would someone use their own? It doesn't seem to make sense. I
Well,
mean,
that's another myth
young things,
because
why
a
would
lot of people think that your own is better. Oh, because I don't, body is not going to reject it. But the truth is, we're not counting on the cells, these stem cell therapy to actually for these cells to become your local cells. Really, we're like I mentioned, signal. It's all about signaling. You're signaling your own stem cells to come alive and form new tissue. But because people still are stuck in the concept that we are giving these stem cells so they can become new cells for that tissue, then they think, oh, then if we're giving somebody else a stem cell, then there may be rejection. The truth is, these cells go into your body, give you the signals, and then they die. So it's like this, we're sending in this, infantry, they fight your battle, and then they go away. But then you're healed, right? You're repaired, you're rejuvenated. So
that's
that's what
beautiful.
we're counting on. So if we're giving young cells,
Mhm.
then they will contain young mitochondria that's not damaged. And so these are vibrant mitochondria. Of course, that elevates your own cellular energy and your own health. There's a lot of talk about how mitochondria dysfunction is tightly linked to cancer and to all kinds of chronic illnesses. And
Yeah.
then lastly, really, really cool is that these cells can actually change your genome in a sense that it rejuvenates your genetic material. And this is really awesome. It's not changing your genes, not like your genetic coding per se, but it's turning so there's all these epigenetic changes as we age, right? Your genes are
Turn
turned
on and
on and
off.
off,
Right, right,
methylation patterns. What
right.
happens with these cells is that they will secrete all these exosomes, and within the exosomes, there are tiny little microRNA. There are all kinds of other stuff too, all kinds of growth factors and amino acids, but they will have these microRNAs that can go across cell nucleus and start repairing your DNA, getting
Wow.
your DNA to a younger state, to a younger age. So that's why there's this long-term benefit. short term, there's anti-inflammatory,
Right, right,
anti-cancer
right.
and tissue regenerating potential and preventing tissue damage. But long term, it actually made your DNA younger. And that's, so you're healthier, you're functioning at a younger state. And that's why people can have more long-lasting benefits. If they were looking at helping with a condition, not only there's short-term benefit, there can be a very long-term benefit. Yeah, so all these are mechanisms, which is remarkable.
Wow.
Can you think of any drug that can do all these things?
I want to sign up right now. I mean, I'm killing myself walking 2 hours a day. Maybe I could just go sit and take a drip.
That is an amazing shortcut, I have to admit. There's only so much you can do. There's a lot you can do though, but I think it's very hard. People are going to be very hard pressed to find anything that can replace these fresh new signals that just blast in
Ah,
your body.
I
Yeah,
love
I think it's just an incredible gift that we've discovered. Yeah.
Wow. So expand on what you do for yourself because you were the poster child. So what you're tell us about you. Tell us about you were saying you're taking these stem cell therapies every 3 months. What has it done for, how many years have you reversed? And tell us about your cream because obviously you have a topical solution for this glowing skin that I'm seeing. You guys head over, if you're listening to this on iTunes or audio, head over to the YouTube channel so you can see the model here.
Oh, thank you, Myrna. Um, yeah, so okay, spill all my secrets.
Okay.
One of the best secrets is definitely the stem cell. So, like all the benefits I'm talking about, right? So I'm reaping those benefits every 3 months, and so I'm basically dialing back the clock. I don't know exactly how much I'm dialing back. It's hard to say, but I had my telomere tested, the length of telomeres, right? So the length of telomeres reflect just how much reserve your cells have, how many generation it can keep replicating without damaging and decline and eventually, not being not functional. So my telomere length, last time I checked it, I think it was about a year and a half ago, was the same length as somebody that's 3 years old. So
Wow.
that's what I've seen.
Wow.
Yeah, so but there are many measures of
Right, right.
aging. I love the concept of organ regeneration, right? All your organs from the inside out. And your skin is a major organ. So what you're seeing, I
Mhm.
think, on people's face is really almost like a little screen, like a little, indicator of what's going on inside their body.
It's
So
very
don't underestimate how a person looks. I've seen a lot of biohackers that there's a significant skin degeneration, right? They would say my biological age is 35, but then their skin still looks 65. But that's still a reflection. So
right.
whatever measure you're using, I don't think we have perfect measure these days. I know we have certain DNA measurements, methylation patterns, but I don't think those are perfect measurements. This is almost like an art now, right? Exactly what is your biological age? You can check it to a certain degree, but I don't think it's a perfect system.
Oh,
The I think what you see on your face, if you are sagging, wrinkling, shriveling, on your face, just think
right.
of all that as happening in all your organs, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, everything is shriveling in that
Right.
sense because everything is losing is vital regenerative capacity.
Mhm.
And that's what we are trying to address. So stem cell therapy, definitely when I first, saw it and saw what it did for people, initially it was the first girl that was talking to me about, she had rheumatoid arthritis. And she said, "Oh my God, stem cells! This is just incredible. This is an amazing thing. This is just such a breakthrough in medicine because I've had rheumatoid arthritis for years, and for a few years I couldn't wear the ring my mother gave me, and I did a stem cell therapy. And even just during the infusion, the swelling in my finger was coming down and I could wear the ring again. Not only all my swelling and pain was going away, but I'm getting this burst of energy. I feel so energetic. I have such a high sex drive. And she was just like beaming with,
It's
this
stuff.
discovery of this
Yeah,
something that
it's
actually
good stuff.
can
And
help her.
what I love about this conversation is that you're saying it's available in the United States because people are running to Mexico and I don't know, I don't hear anybody but in Ukraine, but I know they're running all over the world to get this therapy. So I'm glad that it's available here. I had a because I've been interested in it. I told you my husband has a problem with his back. And I have actually reached out to some clinics that's talking about stem cell therapy for joints and back and things like that. And when I call them, they're saying, "Oh, it's coming. It's not here yet." So
Really?
yeah, it's right.
Wow.
But I've never, but what you're talking is something totally different. You're talking about age reversing and talking about disease, whether it's um uh, rheumatoid arthritis, autism, reversing your biological
Oh
clock. It's
yeah, we've
totally
seen
different.
in neurological conditions, all kinds of neurodegenerative issues. We've seen with heart failure, with COPD, severe lung damage, with kidney failure,
Yes.
every organ, just about we've seen just about everything. So I mean, as far as different organs are involved, these cells never fail to amaze me at what they can do. I don't want to give people the impression that this is a cure-all or a miracle drug. It's not. It's like any medical
It is.
therapy. There's a particular dosing you need to be cognizant of. There's an appropriate dosage. There's a appropriate regimen. It's not something I give it to you, boom, it heals everything. It's not like that, but it can certainly help a lot of repair, and giving hope to lots of people with absolutely no hope. Because I was there, I was educated in the system, right? I was actually a psychiatrist, so I was more focused on the brain diseases. But of course, being trained in medicine, we've seen, of course, I was dealing with a lot of autism and Alzheimer's patients, as a psychiatrist, but a broad range of conditions. There are many conditions. Your doctor said, well, there's really nothing we can do for you. A lot.
Yeah.
But guess what? You just heard me talking about the different mechanisms of actions of stem cells. And
Yeah.
some diseases may be more rare and may not have been studied as far as stem cell therapy goes. But if we can look at how the disease came about, if there's anything that's related to inflammation and tissue damage and immune dysregulation, the stem cells can fit right in. It can do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's where the hope comes from.
I heard that every chronic illness starts with inflammation. So, I mean, it's got to be a rare disease that, that's not from inflammation. Wow, that's amazing. So you have your clinic, the Chara Health Clinic, and you have, you work with helping people with anti-aging as well as to recover with, wellness and longevity. So we've talked a lot about that. So what kind of services you offer? Talk about your clinic now. What kind of services you offer? And also tell us about your cream that you said you've developed a
Yeah.
skin
So
cream.
my when it comes to stem cell therapy, my own clinical approach has definitely evolved over the years, partially because I keep learning new things and new things are coming up. And I feel it's my obligation. If I found out something is really powerful, can really add a different element to help promote the repair of the body, then I'm kind of obligated to give that to patients. That comes back to my point that stem cell therapy is not cure all because your body is very complex. So stem cells is one of the fundamental aspects. It's like the engine of your body, right?
Yeah,
The engine is the intelligence that's driving everything. But if you don't have any fuel, how's the engine going to work? So
right.
if you don't put the right food in your body, you don't have the right vitamins, minerals, amino acids, if your body is polluted, is full of toxins, and if you don't have the right hormones, if you don't have the right microbes, all these things are going to make your body stagnant. So I can give you great engine, but all these things I think constitute the fuel portion. Then your body if it has terrible, dirty fuel, then you're not going to go very far. If you think of your body as a vehicle. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to try to clean up your fuel source. That's by modifying people's diet and giving them certain supplements. So whenever people come to my clinic for stem cell therapy, there's a supplement regimen that they need to get on. Not an overwhelming amount because I hate complex big regimen is really difficult for people to implement, is overwhelming. But so what I focus on are the fundamental aspects, some essential aspects of what they need to make sure stem cell therapy can actually have the right fuel to work with. And then I also incorporate a few other therapies along with stem cells. So peptide therapy is very important. That's actually, I think, is part of the fuel aspect. Is other type of information that's important. That's in the soup, the body. Think of the body as this,
Right.
really a
Yeah.
soup
Right.
of
Right. I like
incredible
that.
chemicals. And yeah, they're over what 70 I think, over 300,000 different types of peptides in the body. It's absolutely astounding just how much interesting, like specific signals your body's sending out to,
Yeah.
throughout your body. So we can replenish some of those signals to target specific organs because I may be treating people with stem cells, which has this overall engine, driving force. But if we're trying to help particular organ systems, like let's say the cardiovascular system or the brain or a certain immune system, we may be able to give particular peptides that can give more power to that particular system we're trying to help. So I'm adding that portion in to target different organ systems. And then we also use laser technology to not only make the cells the new cells I'm giving to people more active and viable, but also more mobile and travel better, being able to aggregate to areas that they're needed better. But we can actually focus the laser on particular organs so the cells will be more attracted to that area. So this is like a full comprehensive approach. We also add ozone therapy to help, not only detoxify the body, amplify the antioxidant system, but also supercharge the body with oxygen and with this immune boosting element from ozone therapy. So that's kind of the comprehensive approach that I've developed over the years. So my clinic is in Los Angeles, and it's and it never fails to surprise me of just how the responses that we've seen just recently. I mean, it's just because it's fresh in my mind. I was blown away. We had a patient who had a brain surgery at age 9. Unfortunately, part of the problem with the surgery, there's some side effects. There was a problem which damaged the nerve to the eye. So he's one eye was blind. And
Mm,
this is 44 years ago. And when we were following up with the patient after one stem cell session, so at the 3 month mark, and the patient was reporting he's starting to see in that one eye. So now he wants to do another one. He's so encouraged. And to me, I was blown away because I would have said, well, it's been 44 years. No, I'm not gonna give, too much,
that right. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so these are the things that's shocking to me. And that speaks to the power of the intelligence that's in these cells that can do things that previously thought
Yeah.
impossible.
Well, listen, stem cells is what created this whole body. I mean, it starts with the embryo,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
So we know the
exactly.
power of stem cells. So I'm so
Yeah,
glad they're manufacturing it, that they're not throwing away placentas and embryonic fluid, and they're using it to
exactly.
help people. So
Yeah, and
that's
you were asking me about the cream. So
right.
the cream really came about not because I've never really been drawn to the aesthetic field as a medical profession, right? I love healing the body, and I wasn't drawn to that field, but still I want to look good. I will have a good skin regimen, right? I'm going to take care of myself, but with the understanding of all these things that can undermine our health, in the anti-aging field, because anti-aging is about how do you slow down the aging process? And one way to slow it down is to stop the toxic load, so stop making your body toxic. And then I realized all these skincare products or household products have all of these toxins and immune or hormone disruptors. So then I thought, I really want something all natural. And then I had quite a hard time finding an all natural skincare product that actually is high quality and doesn't degrade quickly. When I realized that I couldn't find that, that's when it dawned on me that I have access to stem cells. We know stem cells can help with skin regeneration. I mean, that's, for wound
Wow.
healing, and we know that.
I love
And then
it.
I have access to all these peptides. So how about I produce a product that can give people that kind of, engine power for skin, and then also these targeted peptides to help with skin regeneration, along with lots of natural herbal extracts that I love, and then all these antioxidants and some prebiotics for beneficial bacteria. So that's what it came about. It's called Chara Omni, so Chara Omni. That's it's Omni because it has so many things as everything, right? That's what I like. I like including everything in one. I like simplicity because this cream is the only thing I put on my face after I wash my face. So since I developed it about 4 years ago, I refuse to touch anything else because I have not seen anything that's as clean and as potent as this cream. And I go to anti-aging
I am definitely
conferences.
gonna
I
get it.
check out all these other creams. Yeah.
I went to a spa on a cruise a couple years ago and bought all these peptides because, everybody's selling peptides now. It didn't do anything for me. They just sold me a whole bunch of expensive products. Um, what I told them is that I had incredibly oily skin and I wanted a cream that will help control the oil. It didn't do anything. So I'm going to try yours.
Mm,
So give us
yeah.
a site.
Yeah, yeah. It's just charaomni.com.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so the cream, I love these herbal extracts because in one herb, there could be hundreds of molecules that have different properties, right? So some of the herbal extracts are known to cleanse pores, to,
Mhm.
reduce like oil, like excessive oil production, and also UV protection. And honestly, I do not use sunscreen. I know I'm going against the vice of every dermatologist out there, but I
Well,
do
I
not.
stopped using sunscreen because they said it's cancer causing, and I
Yeah,
have melanin in my skin, so I don't need it. So I had stopped using it. But
yeah,
yeah,
because the example I give, I do not believe is the light that the sunlight is toxic to humans. Sunlight is conducive to life. What's toxic is us. If we put toxic stuff in us, that's what's causing the cancer.
sunscreen, right?
So if you make your body less toxic, then your cells are not going to have these pathological changes. That's why antioxidants is wonderful. That's why we have those UV protecting herbs that
Right.
we know can fight off these, excessive UV ray or the damage to cells, to DNA. So be protective. So you want antioxidants to protect your skin, but to put the sun blocking agents that's full of these chemicals, I don't believe that's the right thing to do. I want to give you an example of the Aborigines, right? How many skin cancers do you see? These people are in the sun all day. Their skin is dark, right? They've gotten lots of sun throughout their life. I don't hear them talking about skin cancer. Why
No,
is that? So
right.
that should give people, this is the common sense I want to bring back to medicine instead of just focusing, oh my God, look what happened in the petri dish. But how about let's look at life in
Yeah.
a broad stroke, let's why aren't they getting skin cancer? So, same thing with all these other populations around the world. I
Mhm.
don't think sun is your enemy.
No. I embrace the sun. I live in Florida and I walk in it every day. And I don't use sunscreen because I'm only in up, an hour and a half, maximum 2 hours. But I mean, they saying the people that get skin cancer is the ones that go and tan and sit in it for 5 hours or something, and that's not me. So that's amazing. All right, yeah. So your clinic is in Los Angeles. Do you have, this podcast is around the world. Do you have a website? Do you offer anything on your website for people that are not in Los Angeles?
Oh
What's your
yeah, we
website?
have people fly from all around the world to come to our clinic. Actually,
Okay.
actually, majority of our patients take a plane to come
You're
to
kidding.
make their
All right.
appointment. So the website, the best website, probably is my personal website, just called joycongmd.com. So that has everything I'm doing, includes the link to my clinic. I also have a stem cell company where I developed a very comprehensive formulation, very potent formula. That's kind of my mission, is to bring the best products to patients everywhere. And that we also send the products out to doctors all around the country. And that's why this is another strange myth saying that you can't do stem cell therapy in the US. Yes, you can. When we do not manipulate the cells, because we give the cells the way it was. So we carefully separate the cells from the tissue, from the birth tissue. And then we don't make them grow. We don't use chemicals or enzymes to change the cells in any way. When you don't change the cells and you send the cells to doctors to use for tissue transplantation, the FDA says you don't need this is not a drug. This is a tissue transplant. Just like you don't try to get an FDA approval for heart transplantation. There's no
Mhm.
such thing as tissue transplant approval. From one person to the next, okay,
Okay.
you're a doctor, you can do that. That's,
Got it.
you
Right.
go to talk to your medical board. If you're not doing it right, the medical board will come get you. But, that has nothing to do with the FDA. So you don't need a drug approval. But if you start changing the cells, start manipulating them, growing them to large numbers, then you need FDA approval. Then it's not legal to be giving it to doctors and patients, to be injecting into patients
Mhm.
if it doesn't have the FDA, at least not under a clinical study.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's where the thoughts come in. Oh, you can't do it in the US. But we see incredible results with these native cells. We call them native because we haven't altered them in any way. At a very small number of these native cells, you can achieve actually better results than giving cells that have been expanded, but giving them to large numbers. So you probably heard of people going overseas getting a lot of stem cells. They say, oh, you can't get that number of stem cells in the US. Yeah, because they've altered the cells, they've expanded the cells. And so in the US, if you start doing that, you have to go through a clinical study. So it's
Right.
called Investigation in New Drug Study, IND. And those are very time consuming, very costly, very just a big hurdle for any companies. So all these companies say, forget it. We're not going to do studies. We're just going to go overseas and start growing cells and give it to people. The problem is that when you start doing that, the cells lose potency and they start to change. They can cause rejection. They can cause a lot of inflammation. So a lot of side effects. And you don't need to do that. That's what I'm trying to tell people. We are actually seeing incredible results with these native cells.
So that's
Yeah, so
beautiful. One question. So let's say somebody is listening and they got on a plane and come to Los Angeles. They do one treatment and then they go home and then come back in 3 months, or
yeah,
how
so
does how
this
does the
is the,
treatment work?
the question about how many treatments do I need. I actually have a video on that subject, but that really depends on what we're dealing with. Let's say you are coming to me just to rejuvenate and stay young, right? Then we do one every 3 to 6 months. So 3 to 6 months, that's the recommendation for anti-aging. If you can't afford it, it's too difficult, even once a year. It's still going to do you a whole lot of good than not doing it at all. But every 3 to 6 months is the recommendation. But if you're suffering from a severe condition, but just one session, it could do a lot of good, but it may not be enough. So our recommendation is that a person may need 3 sessions as a cluster of treatment, spaced 1 to 2 months apart. So you want to do three. You really want to push the body and keep pushing it until it gets to a good place. So that's the recommendation. And after you're getting to a good place, you may not need another treatment for, a few years. We've seen that pretty commonly. But just know that you're also aging, right? Whether or not you have an illness or not, everybody's aging. So if you don't want the aging process to be, taking you down a path that's too rapid, then you can do the stem cell anti-aging regimen. So that's the general recommendation.
That's amazing. All right. Well, I know we're going to talk offline, so maybe you can send me some of the doctors that are in Florida so that I might decide to go and take some of this stuff.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it. Okay. All right. Well, listen, this has been a fantastic conversation, Joy. You have sold me. I am all for anti-aging, and I take care of the fuel that I put in my body. I exercise it, I move it. I take care of my mental health. But now I need some stem cell therapy.
Yeah, why not? We have it now. I mean, the fact that we have not had it for our almost entire human history, but now we finally have it, and
Yes.
anyone can benefit from this. Right? It's a bit costly, but it's not exorbitant. We had almost mentioned the gene therapy, but stem cell therapy is not gene therapy. But it can help you rejuvenate the gene to some extent, but it's not going to change the coding per se. But the gene therapy, the big pharma, when they got into gene therapy and it actually got FDA approval, just watch the documentary called Unnatural Selection on Netflix. It talked
Okay.
about the gene therapy. And there are two kinds of treatments that they talked about, but one of them cost $750,000. So stem cell therapy is not that. It
Okay.
generally costs
For
a few
Elon Musk,
thousand
not
to
for us.
maybe, up to about $20,000. That's the kind of the cost in my clinic. And other clinics I can't speak of. There are clinics that charge more, 20 to even $50,000 overseas. That's also a common number. So, but that's nowhere near 750,000, right? So you can see that it's still doable. And at our clinic, we actually give significant discounts for veterans, first responders, and also for people who have economic difficulties. So we try to make this more accessible.
That's beautiful. Good girl.
Thank you.
Listen, you've got a mission and you're
Oh
doing
yeah.
great. Now, we didn't talk about your book. It's not really, I know you mentioned it in your bio. Um, uh, but yeah, how can people pick up your book? Do you talk at
Oh
all?
gosh, they can just get on Amazon. It's called Tiger of Beijing. It's really just came from it's my memoir, but it's not like my full life's memoir. It's only about a few years of my life from age 20 to age 22, really. It was a dramatic time of my life because I tried to get over from China to America, and my very first attempt was struck down by the American embassy. So that was chapter one of me being confident, like just full of hope. I'm going to America to study. And then the American embassy said, nope, not coming. So then it's about okay, what
Right.
do I do now? I have no money, I have no connections. I don't know what do I do? So that it just gives you a sense. I think that the book is a manifestation of life force. It's about the pursuit of your purpose, of
Mhm.
just expanding life, right? Instead of letting life um, possibly shrinking because of circumstances, no, I want life to expand. So I'm going to push for it. I'm going to
Yeah.
make it expand. Because I heard there's
Yeah.
thing I heard, when I was
Good.
20, that
It's,
when you have a will, the universe will come together and
yeah.
conspire to make that happen for you. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot out this will to the universe. So let's see what happens. And then there was this very dramatic story. Things doesn't happen in a straight line. There were difficulties, there struggles, there's heartache, but eventually
You got here.
obviously I'm here and thriving. So I do not let the difficulties,
Wow.
take me down. So that was about those 3 years that and how I overcame, how I actually made it here, but also how I survived the first couple years in the US, actually in San
Good.
Francisco.
Well, that's very beautiful. I mean, it ties in it to, what I try to do here, and that is, transform your mind, have an intention, and it's also parallels my book. I wrote my immigration story in my book called Out of the Snares, and yes, I had to try 3 times. I
It is.
finally,
What country did you come from?
Well, I came from Canada, but originally I'm from Guyana and then I immigrated to Canada,
Oh.
but I wanted to come to America because I had this business and I was interested in commerce and wealth and all that. And I wanted to come and they kept denying my marriages because I had to get married a couple of times. Severed until my third time. The guy said to me, "Boy, you really need this benefit, huh?" And I says, "Yes." But yeah, and my book is very exciting too. So
That's
yes,
awesome.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd love to read that.
I
Yes,
know.
yes. Immigrants, the United States attracts a different group of people. We have almost like the DNA, we have a particular kind of personality and type of drive. So
Yeah.
this country, yeah, attracts some go-getters.
Yeah, that's what we are. Yes, that's what we are. That's a good label. Yes, that's amazing. All right. Well, listen, I totally enjoyed our conversation, Joy. And I got a lot of nuggets, and I'm sure our listening audience are encouraged and inspired that, yes, that they can do something to reverse aging. They can do something, to look better and especially when you talked about cancers, because yes, some people go for would do anything when they're suffering from cancer to help them. So these are one of the things that we hear. We didn't touch Alzheimer's, but you mentioned it a bit. And I think that what you're saying is that, when we regenerate the heart, we can regenerate the brain and we can regenerate
Absolutely.
anything. If we can work with autism, which they said it's incurable, then it can do anything. So yeah, I mean, you guys head over to Dr. Joy's website, which is joykungmd.com. I will link out to her website. I will link out to her book. I will link out to her amazing cream that I'm going to go first thing to buy.
I also want to mention, make sure, check out my YouTube channel because I have a
Oh,
lot of educational material. It's just
okay.
under Joy Kong MD. So just
Okay.
look me up, and the whole channel is just full of my lectures. I give a lot of lectures and conferences. I give a lot of snippets of different aspects of stem cell therapy. So almost all my patients have seen all my videos. And so they're already fully informed. I love that.
Yes,
That makes my job a lot easier. But yeah, go educate yourself. Know what you're getting into. Really,
yes,
don't just listen, count on the doctor's words. This is why I keep presenting
mhm,
scientific data. So
mhm.
let's look at what's been discovered. And we're still in the early stages. There's
Yeah,
so
we
much
are.
that we can find out and we'll bring to the world. So just stay
Amazing.
tuned. Try to take care of yourself
Yes,
and just so that the new technology keep coming up, and people say that there's a escape at the point, right? When the speed of aging is stalled by the speed of anti-aging, so then you're staying where you are
you're right there, right? Yeah.
forever, possibly. So just take good care of yourself.
By the way, I had my there's a company that I work with that's called Wild Health, and they offer these true diagnostic tests that talks about your biological age, and they test your telomeres and all that. So mine was 34, which is actually half my age, but yours was 3.
Well,
That's amazing.
those
Yes.
are very good indicators, but
Yes.
take them with a grain of salt. But
Mhm.
there's a good marker to kind of gauge things. Yeah.
Yes. Right, right. Well, I said I work.
Well, congratulations. You've
Yes.
done a lot of things right, obviously.
Well, yes, I try. I mean, I'm in the space, right? If I'm not working, I'm working on myself and self-improvement, then I shouldn't be in this space. So this is amazing. And I love talking to, my guests on the show because I keep learning and I keep learning to do it better. And that's what I do. So thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. We're talking about stem cell therapy, reversing aging, and we're talking about stem cell therapy to reverse a whole bunch of things because like Dr. Kong says, it is the engine. It is gives the information for your cells to work. So yeah, definitely go check her out. If you don't have the money to go fly to her clinic and get this done, at least you can do certain things along the way.
You can
Um,
get a
uh,
cream, the
yeah,
sun
you
cream.
can get a
You
cream,
can start
exactly.
rejuvenating your face.
Yes, and that's the first thing I'm going to pick up myself. So, yes, that's amazing. All right, guys. So, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, would love for you to give her a comment and also go check out Dr. Kong's YouTube channel as well and learn some more. If you're watching on iTunes, would love for you to subscribe because I try to bring you quality guests like Dr. Kong every week. So as we wrap up, Dr. Kong, any last words?
Last words is, we, I, I think we are at this pivotal point in humanity, and we really have a chance to bring about a lot of healing. And but people need to inform themselves. I see a lot of people still are falling behind and buying into whatever their doctors telling them. Doctors are not gods, and they are very limited. They're limited by their education, by their own personal biases. Seek out doctors who are open-minded, because the traditional medical system is about 20 years behind the current science. So don't wait until that percolates down 20 years later. Start utilizing what science is showing now. I can tell you that still, majority of the doctors do not understand stem cells very much at all. They still think that there's no evidence. That's one common thing I hear. Oh, well, yes, it's great, but there's just no evidence it works. I was like, well,
That's
tell
not
me,
true.
what kind of evidence would you like? I will email it
That's
to
not
you.
true. Yeah. I've heard people talk about, like I said, I've heard people talk about they go to Mexico and get an injection and it cures them all. So I know that it works, right? So it's amazing. All right. Well, yes. Expand your mind, transform your mind, renew your mind. We can say all kinds of different things on the same thing. We can say it
That's
all
right.
different
And
ways.
encourage your doctor to transform their
Well, listen,
mind.
I know that doctors, even as something as simple as nutrition, they don't even have the experience on diet and things like that. So, yeah, they just know to write a prescription and give you a pill.
I hope that
That's what they're taught.
changes soon. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Kong today. I hope you did too. And I hope you learned a few things and allow you to move forward with some education in your life. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.
Namaste.